On today's episode of Embodied Divinity, I had the pleasure of interviewing Marika Bergvik, a shamanic oracle and solar dragon priestess who offers a safe and nurturing space for women to explore the depths of their souls and reconnect with their inner wisdom, intuition, and profound strength that resides within. You can find all about how to connect with Marika below wherever you're listening to this episode. I hope you enjoy. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Embodied Divinity Podcast. You just heard all about the lovely Marika sitting in front of me today. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This is an honor to be here with you today.
I am so excited for people to hear more about you. So, can you tell us the signature question I always ask? How did you become the woman sitting in front of us today?
I love that question because that is so multidimensional
Yes.
and so complex in the best way. Um, well, if we go back, I think the earliest memories I have of that, that I can put the red line going through from where I'm now to where I was a child, is I was experiencing seeing and hearing a lot that in my world was really natural, and I thought everybody was experiencing what I was. And when starting to talk about it, I realized that okay, maybe that's not the case, that I have a connection with the energy world in another sense that most people around me. And one thing that was really, really big for me growing up, like when I was maybe five, 5, 6, 7, is that when I was at home, I was feeling really good, and I was in my own energy, and it was good. And as soon as we left, to go shopping to the city, wherever there were people, I started to feel really bad. Like all of these things started to happen to me. I got headaches, I got pain all over in my body, I got mood swings, I got tantrums that I couldn't explain. And that was just because the highly sensitivity in me, got activated as soon as I step in people's energy fields that I'm experiencing everything. So that was a quite tough time to, as a child, experience that and not know what's happening. And my parents didn't, know how to explain it or deal with it in that sense. So from there, uh, it actually, I think that's the part when it started that I felt that I don't belong anywhere. I don't have a place here. So I started to do everything I could to find my place. And as early as when I started school at 6 years old, uh, I was bullied really heavily, and I was bullied for 7 years. So at a at an age at 6, when you realize that it's not safe to be who you are, and you can't trust yourself no matter what. And in my head, it was all survival. So I had a program in that whatever I did, I couldn't show who I was. So from there, up to my 20s, it was more like that. I did everything I could not to be me and to find a place where I would belong, where I would feel that I am home. And so it was a quite difficult time growing up. I had a hard time finding friends. If I found friends, it wouldn't take long before they, stab me in the back in some way. And I think, of course, I have my part in that too, because I did everything I could to not be me. So I started also trying to mimic people that I looked up to, because in my world, that was the only way to survive. And so it spiraled down quite heavily at some point, and I went to go to study, and you know when nothing else worked, I started to go to parties and drinking quite much, because that was the only way. This only way to escape until the reality really, caught me again. And even I remember like when I was really, really young, when I started to feel and sense these things, I knew that I had a big mission. But that's the only thing I knew, and I was so young that I didn't know what that meant. But that was the feeling inside of me that I have a big mission. But then, growing up, I did everything to push the off button. So everything, all my gifts were just on pause until I was the age of 20. That's why God and universe decided that now it's time to come back home. So I got in a really bad car accident. I I was sitting beside and my friend was driving. And at that time, I never put on my seatbelt when I was in the car. It was really stupid. But I was sitting beside her and looking out the side window, and suddenly I could hear the loudest voice in my head that said, "Put on the seatbelt." And it was so loud, so I didn't hesitate. I put on my seatbelt, and the second it was on, a car crashed into ours. So that was the first, step back to myself. I realized that I was giving a second chance and I needed to redirect. So that started my rehabilitation process and starting to come back to myself and my gifts. I was 20 years old at that time and I'm 43 now, so it has taken a while. Of course, you learn as you go. And I think it went about maybe 5 or 6 years did all this healing work and came a long way, started doing healings as well, really taking on my abilities and started working with them, but still ignoring my inner child and the deepest work. So I one morning I woke up and was totally burnt out. So that was the second time I was told that okay, you're on your way, but you need to incorporate the body as well. It's a lot of times so easy to just, take in and open up your abilities, but if you don't embody it and take it in a grounded, balanced way, then yeah. So that's why I where I got the second, stop. And I really felt that I was started coming home and everything was I really started having a lot of clients and I was loving my work and to be able to do what I do and help people, that really was, I felt that I had, started to like myself and I loved what I was doing. But in 2020, I got my last big piece. I got the diagnosis that I had breast cancer in both of my breasts. And to me, that was the biggest blessing of them all, because that was my biggest piece that was missing from my work, was the love towards myself. Because if you really think about the breasts symbolically, they are here to nurture. We nurture a child, but we have to nurture ourselves. And during my sick leave with that, the doors to shamanism just, flew open. It had tried to come into my life earlier, but I had just pushed it away, and this made it possible. And then and there, for the first time in my life, I felt I belong somewhere. This is home. And from there, everything just started to be so clear. Everything started to come online, and yeah. So that was 4 years ago, and since then it's just been a beautiful way to find myself and to be able to do the work that I do now and can fully embody it and help women find themselves because I know the rocky road it can be.
Wow. I'm so glad you shared your story with us. It's so interesting. There's a lot of similarities between our stories, but also like so many of the women who have come on the show of really going through these really dark experiences, even near death experiences, to be able to step into the full embodiment after being silenced, after being like oppressed for being who we are. And it's kind of like this homecoming of finding our voices, of finding our first our belonging within ourselves, right? And then our place and our belonging within the universe and the earth. So I just think it's really beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us. What would you say was how would you say you really got your voice back? You talked about as a child never feeling safe being you and the mistrust for the things that you were feeling. How did you reclaim those parts of yourself?
I really felt that the biggest piece, came to me when I started acknowledging my womb and the sacral area. And that is something that came into my life quite late, because you do the work, you have to work with your inner child, especially if you have, trauma since childhood. And I knew I had done a lot of work, and because I felt better and started to use my voice and my gifts. But it wasn't until really connecting with my womb, our biggest creation center, where all our power lies. And connecting with that part made me realize really heavily, it felt, that, oh my gosh, I haven't felt safe in my body ever since I was 6 years old. And when I could see that, that's when I could shift it, transform it, and just, thank it and release it. And so that was a major thing. And that's why
What a
the womb healing and the womb work is really important for me.
what does that womb healing and womb work look like? Like if people were listening to this and really wanted to get started, what are some things they could start doing on their own to deepen that connection with their womb and their sacral space?
To connect with her, connect with the womb, to just sit in silence, in meditation, and start to foster a relationship, to open up and to listen to the wisdom we have there. That is, it, the womb is trying to tell us all the time, like everything else that we go through, it uses the body to show us that, okay, now there's something here you need to look at. And when we take the time to silence ourselves and turn inwards and see what's coming up,
Yeah.
then she's there to tell you.
It's so interesting the way that society, especially in like Western culture, has really like either demonized or oppressed like any sort of womb stuff. Like even the other day, me and my friend were booking a thing to a spa. And on this website, it said, if you're on that dreaded time of the month, like used those words. And like I've cultivated this relationship with my bleed in my womb so that it's something really sacred and something I love, right? But it was hard. And
Exactly.
then like reading that, I was just like, can you imagine? I'm sure there's so many women that do agree like their period, their cycle, their womb space isn't necessarily this sacred thing because it never has been treated like that in Western society. What's been your experience with that?
Exactly, and that's why it's for many people it's really really hard because it's all about shame and guilt and blaming with the womb. It's been so heavily attacked, throughout the years, throughout the history. And but that comes back to because there is there's such amount of power in the womb that of course it's been targeted. I mean, no wonder. And but yeah, I mean it's really sickening to see how the society treats our womb
Yeah.
and how we are grown up as women to feel that, oh my gosh, it's the time of the month, it's something bad. And as well, all the aches and pains we might have, during a period, that's not an organic state for our body as well. That is just a programming.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's so much I could talk, for hours, because it's such a big topic, but I think it's really important that we talk about it and start to see what is the true organic, with the womb, and what is just the society trying to manipulate us and program us to believe.
What do you think is the correlation between healing your womb and really getting into that sacred space and then finding your voice and letting that channel come through? What's the correlation there?
I think the correlation is because it's so many times that we speak of our heart. We work with the heart, and because of course we also put so much trauma in there, and in the spiritual world, and we want to activate our gifts. We work a lot up here. And I see so many times that we want so much to go, really quick ahead, and we want to develop and bring every gift we have online, but we don't work with the womb or the root chakra. There is the correlation that if you're not building yourself from the ground, then you're not able to bring your visions, your dreams, and whatever you're wanting to birth into life. It won't happen, because one of the biggest connections we have that is needed is between the womb and the heart, because every single thought is born in the womb. Every single dream, every vision we have, it's not just yeah, so yes, it's everything, single thought, vision, dream, everything is, birthed from the womb. It's not only that we are having children, it's everything about us comes from the womb.
Yeah. It feels like we're kind of stepping into more of a reclamation, because I feel like society, first they kind of oppressed like those priestess oracle women's, right? Then there was that suppression, and then we kind of came back and the pendulum swung, and the feminine just wanted to embody this toxic masculine to reclaim our power. And instead of like fully owning our feminine, we totally swung the pendulum into, I need to be more like a man, I need to be more masculine, but we were embodying the toxic masculine. And so I think now we're finding like the balance in the dance between the divine feminine and masculine, and we're really setting into that healthy divine feminine aspect where we the divine feminine aspect where we fully receive and fully embody the surrender, and we're not so masculine anymore. It's like the third wave of the feminine movement that we're stepping into, I feel like. I was just saying that we kind of went like reclaiming that old oracle priestess, that we kind of took it too far, and like we became really masculine and rigid, and we called that feminism. And now we're finally seeing this softening again of like the real embodiment of the divine feminine. And women are really starting to understand, like, wait, I am the sacred one. I literally create life. Like, I am the goddess.
Yeah, that is such a beautiful that you take that up, because I've been thinking about that as well. When I remember, like maybe 4 or 5 years, when it started to, you know, talking about in the spiritual world that the feminine is rising, and then everybody was, yeah, of course. But then it came in exactly like you said, with the masculine energy. It wasn't the feminine energy. So we thought we were bringing in the feminine, but actually we were using the masculine energy, and then it just got a little out of out of place. And that is why it's so beautiful to see that now, when it really starts to embody in people, that we are actually bringing in the real feminine, the flow, the feeling, just yeah. And one thing I realized that I see in clients too, of course, we want to bring in the femininity, and because it's been lost in a way for so long, but then we kind of forget that we need both.
Yeah.
So we have to have both. And I think that is sometimes a bit of a struggle for people to get them both in.
Yeah, and I think there's that misconception that was formed when we were in that really toxic masculine era because we learned how to be toxic masculine. And so there's this resistance to like, I don't want anything masculine, but it's like when you embody the divine masculine and the divine feminine, it's all this really luscious, soft, beautiful energy. It's not this, deep, aggressive, like manipulative energy. It's a fine balance.
No, it is. And when you get those two, online and in balance, when you can both, you can, hold yourself and you can support yourself and you can get things done, but you can also just sometimes, pull back and have feel into it and take a pause and enjoy life. It's not all this push, it's yeah, so it's beautiful to see when people really embody those two energies.
How would you say that your life has like benefited from being more in the embodiment of your divine feminine and doing this womb healing?
Oh my gosh, it's it's so much, and I know I mean I'm only scratching the surface because I still know I have a lot to discover in myself and to help other women. But for me, it was definitely for such a long time the wounded masculine. So I was, asking so much of myself and almost always pushing myself, never good enough. So I always had to prove myself in some way. And with the programming that I'm not good enough. So it didn't matter what I did. In my mind, I wasn't wasn't ever good enough. So that was such a masculine, wounded masculine energy. And now when really going deep and seeing these core wounds that I was carrying, my feminine energy is now the soothing one, the nurturing one, and to actually holding me
Yeah.
and saying it's okay to just be. And I mean, if I don't feel I don't want to do anything one day, then I allow myself to just relax and feel good about it. And that was something that I never could have done before, or to feel into things. How am I feeling? What do I want to do? And it's made a huge difference in the way I birth, things when I, like courses or services, because now it comes from the stable place, from it's birthed from the womb through the heart and then out to the world. As before, it was just me thinking about it. This is what I want to do, so I need to push it out now. I
Yeah.
think that's the biggest.
Yeah, like kind of just like a you're setting the pace in this surrendered way. And I love that. How would you say it's affected your relationships with men?
A lot as well. I'm married, and we have a beautiful child together as well. I realized that for so long I had totally leaned on my husband, fully and completely without me knowing. And I feel a shift in our relationships, a lot because I could fully be proud of myself and stand stand on my own two legs in every sense. And be, I know I released a big burden from him as well, even though this is, energetical shifts, then they are really, seen and felt in the relationship when both of the partners can stand, solid and safe in their own self and then in their body, and then support each other.
Yeah, makes all the difference. And it feels so much more clean that way.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, there's so much here. And I'm so glad that everyone got to hear your wisdom and your journey through this embodiment. How do you serve clients and what are the offerings that you have for anyone listening here today?
Yeah, so I work in different ways. I work a lot one-on-one with women, And either, you know, shorter sessions or then longer times. I have a beautiful mentorship program that goes for 6 months, for example, where we really get, you know, a chance to go deep and see what is going on, what, you know, false programmings are they, what traumas, what is holding her back, you know. So that is a really beautiful program if you are longing to go deep with yourself and to finally to rise and be the one you are meant to be. And then I do one-on-ones, shorter sessions, and well, and group programs. And so the most easiest way, you find me on Instagram or Facebook.
Mm. I love that. And like I said at the beginning, you can find all the links to connect with Marika below. And I'm just so grateful for your time and energy here today. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
And as always, guys, breathe deep and plan on miracles. I'll see you next time.